So for this class, no props necessary. Of course, if you like them, have them close by, but there's nothing in particular that's like more or less is going to like extremely accentuate the postures for like a fairly like, you know, typical body, typical flow. So make sure this is off. It is. I forgot to pin video and all that stuff. Sorry about that. There we go. Let's begin in a citta-prasādanam. And of course, if your low back is causing you a little bit of a tension that is not helpful, other options you could take are simply reclined, maybe with a prop. I just said we don't need props, under your knees, or knees bent, knees toward each other, rather than the opposite, which is soles of feet together, knees wide, in citta-prasādanam. Give yourself several breaths and movements to get situated. And if you find you need to adjust out of a posture into something else, please do that. This is not a pose to force yourself into. In fact, none are. But in this quiet moment, as you are entering your practice and becoming a little bit more aware and centering your thoughts, certainly there's nothing to force. And if you have a hand placement that is already working for you, then stay where you are. However, I would like to recommend placing one hand on heart and one hand on belly. So you can feel the influence of a deep breath in and exhale. As you draw in more breath, feeling your low part of your belly rise, midsection, and then chest. And then through the reverse. And then start to imagine that as you're breathing in deeply, that your breath can go all the way down through your hips, through your legs, and also through your arms, through the crown of your head. And as you exhale, drawing back in. And starting to become a little bit more aware of the boundary of your body. And then I invite you to set a dedication or intention for your practice. The dedication that I have been working with very recently has to do with compassion. And if that's something that resonates with you, then please adopt it. If something else is more meaningful, then I invite you to align yourself with your dedication. Take another deep breath in, come up all the way. And a very full exhale, going all the way down to the deepest valley of your breath. Deflating as much as you can. And then taking one more slow, full inhalation. Blink your eyes open if you've not already done so. If you've taken the knees wide and sukha-duhka-punyāpunya-visayānām, take the hands to the backs of your thighs, bring your knees back toward each other. If you take a different variation, bring your knees toward each other. And then pull knees in towards your chest, or rock from side to side, your hands either on your kneecaps or on your shins. And then release your feet down to the mat. We're going to take a little bit of a bridge flow here on an inhale. Bring your arms up and back. Lift up your hips, maybe even lift up your heels. Really reach your fingertips back. On an exhale, wave your spine down, hands come down, and then heels to heel lift. 2 more times like that. Deep breath in. Really wave all the way up. Maybe taking your hands a little bit wider to give room for your shoulders. Exhale, wave it down. Final time like that. And then extend your legs out in front of you, still reclining, arms up along above your head, so you're in this good morning stretch. And then you're going to take an arched shape, so banana asana. So take your legs over to the right, arc your arms over to the right, maybe even place left ankle over right ankle, drawing your left hip down toward the mat. And for a little bit extra, George, if you'd like, right fingers around the left wrist. For a little bit more tension, keep your left shoulder dropped down. Uncross the top leg, release that grip, and then send your legs over to left, your arms over to the left as well. Right ankle over left. A little bit of extra pull. And then come back to center again. Bring your knees in towards your chest. And we're going to come to a seated posture. So either rock over to one side and press up, or rock up and down length of your spine until you are in a sukhasana. Choose which leg is in front and just note which one it is, because we're going to change it out in a moment. We're going to take a couple seated twists here. Inhale, bring your arms out and up, send your gaze up towards your thumbs. Exhale, twist to the left. Right hand to your left thigh or knee, left fingertips behind you. Really press down through the mat with your left fingertips. And then twist a little bit more, shifting the weight more to your right hip so you're not rocked completely over to the left. Next, inhale, take your chin back to center, arms lift, twist in the opposite direction. And again, find a little bit more resistance with the right fingertips into the mat, waking up your fingertips. Again, noticing the boundaries of your body. And take your gaze back to center, arms lift again. And then bring your hands into your heart center. Let your eye gaze follow your thumbs. Drop your hands down to your thighs, lift your head up, and then flip out the cross of your ankles. And I'm going to take a forward fold here. So you might find that you're like, I'm not going down very far. Be mindful of what it feels like in the front of your hips. If you start to feel like a bit of a pinch, then simply back up and then just have the intention of pressing your knees down and back. You're still going to get something out of this. If it feels comfortable to come further over, you're going to reach your arms out and let your head drop. So given that it's still fairly early, you might feel a fairly deep stretch in the muscles along your neck, upper back, and even across the top of your, the back of your skull. This is okay. Be compassionate to yourself and allow yourself to explore the sensation. If anything is veering towards pain or discomfort, then back out of it. Otherwise, simply allow yourself to feel it, allow yourself to observe. And perhaps it's nothing to be frightened of. It's just a sensation. Two more deep breaths. And then keeping your head heavy, start to walk your hands in close to you as you start to roll your way up to seated. And then your head will come up last. Keeping your hands on your knees, we're going to take some swimming cow and cat. Sweep your heart forward, shoulder blades on your back, look up, and then lean back, arch your back, look down towards your belly. Inhale, take it forward again. Exhale back into that seated cat pose. One more time. Inhale, take it forward, seated cow, gaze up. Exhale, rock it back, seated cat. And then come forward onto your hands and knees for a tabletop pose. Anahatasana, take your hands a little bit more towards the corners of your yoga mat, fingertips spread wide, inner elbows pointing up, and try to keep your hips generally over your knees. And then with your toes, either tucking your toes so you've got a firm grip, or flare your toes so you've got a firm foundation. Start to drift your chest down toward the mat, long through your neck. 2 more breaths. And then on an exhale, press through your hands, use your core, lift your hips back up, and then replace your hands below your shoulders in the tabletop pose. Tuck your toes if they're not tucked already, and then reach your arms forward as you send your hips back towards your heels. Spread your fingertips and see if you can just like find a little bit more stretch through the sides of your body and through your arms. So as you like little like wiggles with your fingertips going forward, you're still pulling your hips backwards, inner elbows pointing up. See if you can stretch the tiniest bit more, walk your fingers forward, pull your hips back. And then just get a little bit softer, come into your downward facing dog. And first downward facing dog, so a little bit of movement is absolutely fine here. And again, offer yourself compassion. Give yourself room to grow. Remove a little bit of rigidity. And then bend your knees deeply, walk your hands back to your feet. So you're at a forward fold at the back of your yoga mat. Ragdoll pose. So yogi's choice, whether you take a hand clasp, interlace your fingers around the base of your skull, maybe feeling a little bit more stretched like we did earlier when we were doing that forward fold in Sukhasana. And then whatever hand clasp you've taken, release your hands back down, walk back to your downward facing dog. And then on an inhale, rise to your toes, come to the top of a plank pose, check your work. Maybe you need to adjust just a little bit, or maybe you got it just right. Starting to learn those dimensions and noticing, how close, how far away you are. And just note that for the next time as we become more and more familiar with our bodies. And as soon as we become familiar with them, things start to change. And then you have to reintroduce yourself, learn a little bit more. Perhaps you've forgotten that we've been in this plank pose for 45 minutes. Continue to breathe, inner elbows forward, fingertips spread wide. Focus on your exhales. And again, your body will continue to change. Always be adjusting. All right, on your next exhale, take your chin to your chest, puff up through your back, and then roll up and back, downward facing dog once more. Bend your knees pretty considerably and then cross your right ankle over your left thigh just above the knee. So you're in this figure 4 stretch in downward facing dog. Maybe you can sit your hips back, bending your left knee even more. All right, uncross, stand the right foot down, down dog, and then cross left ankle over right thigh. Start to bend your right knee even more, pull your left knee down and back, flexing through the left foot. All right, then unwind, place the foot next to the other, down dog, bend knees, look toward the top of your mat, and then step or float your way to the top. Forward fold at the top of your mat. Breath in, halfway lift. Wave your spine long, look forward. Exhale, forward fold, chest to thighs. Reverse swan dive, press to your feet. Start to come all the way up to standing. Palms lift, chin turns up, but on an exhale, hands to your heart center, and then arms alongside your body in Tadasana. Bring your toes together, heels slightly apart. Inhale, sit low, Utkatasana, fierce pose. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, look out, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, step back to the back of your mat for a plank pose. And on an exhale, lower all the way down to your mat until you're flat on your belly. We're gonna take a few breaths here in a regular cobra pose. If you wanna do backwards breath, do what's good for you. Flare your toes out and then roll your shoulder blades on your back, point your elbows back, a little tension to your bum, lift up. Drag the mat, so you might even feel your chest move forward. Continue to press through all of your toenails. You might find that your kneecaps lift away from the mat. At the very least, your kneecaps are lifting up towards your thighs. Continue to breathe, soften through your forehead. And maybe you can find even a little bit more lift by drawing in your belly, get strong. And then finally, on an exhale, when you're ready, release your head down to the mat. Tuck your toes behind you and either pressing up through chaturanga or hands and knees, make your way back to downward facing dog. All right, step your left foot in slightly at a 45-degree angle. Right foot comes all the way forward between your hands, rise up to a warrior 1. Deep bend to the right knee, arms are up. Start to pull your left rib cage forward. So you're squaring your chest more towards the top of your mat. Maybe sit your right thigh down even more than you think. Again, giving yourself space to grow, space to change. Just breathe. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, pivot on the ball of your back foot, place your hands down to the mat, step your right foot back. On an exhale, lower to or towards your mat, elbows in towards your rib cage. Untuck your toes for an upward facing dog or cobra pose. And then on an exhale, back to downward facing dog. Step your right foot in slightly, angle at 45 degrees. Step your left foot all the way forward, ground down through both feet, left hip draws back, lift up, warrior one. Again, opposite side, and we'll still be here for several breaths. Give yourself the time and space that you need. Right rib cage starts to come forward, low ribs in, drop your left thigh half an inch further. And if you're like, no, then don't. Shrug your shoulders away from your ears. Give yourself space to rise up as you descend down. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, pivot on the ball of your back foot, step your hands down to the mat. Left foot comes back to meet right. Vinyasa, if you'd like to take it. On an exhale, start to lower. Untuck your toes. Inhale for the back bend of your choice. And on an exhale, downward facing dog. Several breaths here. First, consider your foundation. Everything that's touching the mat. Consider the way that your hips are pointed. As you draw your belly in, press your chest back to your thighs. Loose through your neck, loose through your head. And if your thoughts have drifted from the dedication that you've set, a slight guidance back. And then when you're ready, bend your knees, look towards the top of your mat, and on an exhale, travel to the top. Forward fold, toes touching. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold again. Bend your knees, Utkatasana, fierce pose. Arms lift. Exhale, come up all the way standing, the tallest you've ever been in your entire life. And on an exhale, hands to your heart. Arms alongside your body, Tadasana, 3 breaths. At the end of your 3rd exhale, inhale, arms come up, chin up. Exhale, hinge forward. Lead with your heart, release your hands down, breath in to offer your heart out. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold onto yourself and make your way to downward facing dog through a vinyasa, or feel free to skip it. On your next inhale, lift your right leg up toward the ceiling. Make sure that your pinky toe is even pointing down ever so slightly. And so your left knee might be bent, but you're still pulling your left hip back and reaching your chest towards your left thigh. Lift up on your left toes, so you're super tall. On an exhale, draw your knee in towards your chest, shift yourself forward, step your right foot between your hands toward your right thumb. Angle the left foot down like warrior 2. We're going to take a down dog, warrior 2 hybrid. Angle your torso and arms over to the left. Reach your arms out long as we were doing toward the beginning of class, kind of like creeping your fingertips forward. Maintain the deep bend in your right knee. And then lift up just a bit, realign your torso and your hands, your arms over the right leg so that you've got your firm foundation. On an exhale, unravel, warrior 2. So sit low here. We're going to stay in this warrior 2 for several breaths. So get comfortable. And if you're like not feeling so comfortable, notice where that discomfort is coming from. What is that sensation informing you? Low belly in. Sit a little bit lower. Biceps shine up. Reach back with your left fingertips. Place more weight into your left foot that is behind you as you descend down into your right thigh. Just breathe. Can you soften through your jaw and your neck, not your neck. And then when you're ready, you're going to sweep your left arm towards the front of the room, pivot onto the ball of your back foot for a high lunge. Bend through the back knee first, and then begin to straighten the leg, keeping your hips low, your right thigh lower. Then on an exhale, swing your arms back as you tilt forward. Your palms are facing down. So your belly really might be on your thigh here, but see if you can resist the temptation to rest on your thigh. Things can be touching, your body parts can be touching without leaning into them. Once more, inhale, come up to your high crescent lunge. Exhale, swing back, heart high as you tilt forward. Then release your hands down to the mat. You're in a low lunge. More weight to your left palm, to your right fingertips up toward the ceiling in a low lunge twist. So in this low lunge twist, notice if your left hip has a tendency to drop forward. See if you can square your hips. Your right hip is still drawing back. Spike up through the back heel. Inner elbow of your left arm pointing forward, giving yourself lots of strength here. And then if you would like, cycle your right arm up over your head, pinky down. For a side body stretch, if this is not feeling okay in your shoulders, continue to have your hand up or even hand to your hip. On your next exhale, release your right hand down toward the mat. You're back to a low lunge. Step your right foot back to meet your left. High plank. Option to take a vinyasa or press back to downward facing dog. Settle into the downward facing dog. And when you're ready, left leg up and back. Tripod dog, right hip drawing back. Even if the knee is bent, we can still do this. Lift up onto your right toes, get really long. On an exhale, pull your left knee in towards your chest. Place your foot between your hands toward the left thumb. Angle the right foot down like warrior two. Down dog, warrior two hybrid. Angle out with your torso and your arms. Creep forward with your fingertips, shoulders away from ears. And then migrate your torso and your hands back towards the front leg. Find your stability, and on an exhale, unravel, warrior two. Again, we're going to be here for several breaths, so take your time. Reaching back further with your right fingertips, pressing more through the outer edge of your right foot. Allowing a little bit more freedom through the left side of your body, the side that's pointed towards the front side of your mat. All right, and then on an inhale, sweep your right arm towards the front of the room, pivot onto the ball of your back foot, high lunge. Bend your back knee, and then start to straighten it without lifting up too much. There might be some lift, of course, but just explore what happens if you keep low and then straighten your leg. Sweep your arms back, begin to tilt forward, palms are down. On an inhale, come right back up to that high lunge. Exhale once again. Sweep your arms back, lean forward, strong through your belly, even though your chest and belly are probably on your thigh. And then release your hands down towards your mat, low lunge. More weight to the right palm, feel your left fingertips up toward the ceiling. Keep the back heel spiked up. You can stay right here or sweep your left arm towards the front of your mat, pinky down. Always an option just to have hands at the hip. And then on an exhale, release your left hand down toward the mat. You're in a low lunge. Step your left foot back to meet your right. You're in a top of your plank pose. Vinyasa or not, we will meet in downward facing dog. We're going to be here for 3 more breaths. On your next breath in, right leg comes up and back, and on an exhale, place your foot between your hands. Warrior two, angling the left foot down, nearly but not quite even with the back side of your yoga mat. In your warrior two, lift up your right heel, drop your hips so your thigh lowers, and then slowly as you possibly can, release your heel back down toward the mat. Okay. Straighten the front leg, remove to Trikonasana. Hips move back, surf forward. Right rib cage is already starting to tilt up, and then right hand comes down to maybe thigh, calf, ankle, mat, block. So your right rib cage is already rotating upward. Left fingertips can come up or simply release, still at your hip. Remember what we were doing earlier in those warrior twos, where you're pressing a lot through the back leg so that you can find more levity in the front side of your body. Same thing with your left fingertips. You're lifting up through your left fingertips so much that you're starting to release a little bit of the pressure of the right hand wherever it happens to be, whether your hand is on your calf, maybe you're not pressing in so much, or even down toward the mat. Send your focus towards the extremities on the left side of your body here. And then when you're ready on an exhale, come back to the warrior two, releasing all the way down, lift up on the right heel, place it back down again, and then sweep towards the front of the room. Left arm comes up, pivot up to ball of your back foot, high crescent lunge. On an exhale, swing your arms back, lean forward. Again, inhale, come up. Exhale, swing back. This time, you're going to shift your weight into the right leg. We're going to move into a variation of a warrior three. So you might have a couple hops coming forward, or really lengthen through your spine like Tadasana. On an exhale, maybe even give yourself a little bit of like a powerful exhale. Left leg will lift up. Neither leg needs to be straight. Find activity through your left toes. Shrug your shoulders on your back. Draw your low belly in. Reach back through your fingertips. Right hip draws back. Left hip is gently drawing down. Offer yourself some compassion. Know that your body is constantly changing. Is this different than before? Maybe it's fairly similar. What are you experiencing? And can you move with it? And then when you're ready, release your hands to the mat for support. If they're not there already, release your left foot down. Ragdoll pose. Release fingers to the mat as you're ready. If you took any kind of a clasp, I'm going to take 3 halfway lifts. Breath in, halfway lift, lift up. Exhale, fold. Again, wave your spine long, resistance with your fingertips. Let that give you movement. Exhale, fold. And then once more. Take your hands to your hips, point your elbows up toward the ceiling. Roll your shoulders on your back, chin up. Inhale, come up to standing. Exhale, arms along your body. Tadasana. Inhale, palms come up, chin goes up. Exhale, hinge at your hips forward, fold all the way down. Release your hands, breath in, offer your heart once more. Exhale, fold, you bow to yourself. Step back to downward facing dog or take a vinyasa as you like. Two more breaths. And then when you're ready, inhale, left leg up and back. Exhale, place your foot between your hands. Warrior two. So again, really reaching back through the right fingertips and then placing the outer edge of your right foot down. Lift up your left heel. Drop your hips a little bit more. Lowering your thigh and then slowly release your left heel down to the mat, making that connection. Then straighten the left leg, Trikonasana pose. Send your hips back, reach forward. Even right here, your left side of your ribcage is tilting up. Left hand comes down. Right fingertips up toward the ceiling. So again, lift up your right fingertips so much that you start to remove a bit of the pressure wherever your left hand is. You might even find that your fingertips are no longer touching the mat if they normally do. Wrap your left inner thigh upward. Lift up on your left kneecap. Give yourself all the length that you can. Really extend out to the right side of your body. And then as you're ready on an exhale, move back to that warrior two, sit low. And then maybe even one more time, lifting up the heel of the left foot, releasing it down. Sweep your right arm towards the front of the room, pivot into the ball of your back foot. You're in a high crescent lunge on an exhale. Bring your body forward, swing your arms back. Inhale, come back up to that high lunge. Exhale, draw it back. Shift your weight forward. We're going to move back to that warrior two. Your weight will come forward, your leg will rise up, even if just for a moment, and feel free to drop the foot down. You can still have a full warrior three here with the back foot firmly planted onto the mat. Your left hip still pulls back. Your shoulder blades are still back. Palms down or hands to hips. Bent knees or straight. Many different ways to express this posture. Pull your low belly in so you can grow even longer. If you fall out of the pose, good job. That means you were in it. Continue to breathe. And then as you're ready, if you're not there already, release your hands down toward the mat. Place your right foot onto the mat as well. Ragdoll pose. If you've taken a hand clasp, release your fingertips to the mat. 3 times on your own, a halfway lift to a forward fold. And then as you're ready, take your hands to your hips, point your elbows up toward the ceiling, roll your shoulder blades more onto your back, chin out, inhale, come up. Exhale, arms alongside your body, Tadasana pose. 3 breaths. And with eyes opened or closed, palms lift up, chin turns up. Exhale, forward fold all the way back down towards your mat. Breath in, Ardha Uttanasana. Fold at your hips once again. Step back to the top of the plank pose. On an exhale, lower to or towards your mat. Untuck your toes for the back bend of your choice. Deep breath in. And then on an exhale, make your way back to downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. And after the end of your 3rd exhale, lift up high near your toes, roll to the top of a plank pose once again. Stay here for a couple breaths, building heat. Inner elbows wrapping forward, fingertips spread wide, low belly in. See if you can take some of the tension away from your forehead and your cheeks. Just breathe. Press the mat away from you, like it might actually help you to float up. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, lower all the way down to the mat. Untuck your toes. We're going to take a cobra pose once again. Point your elbows back, roll your shoulder blades onto your back, lift up. Draw your hands alongside you, flaring through your toes. And kind of playing with a little bit of what we did before, and we've kind of touched on it several times. Hover your hands away from the mat, or simply remove some of the pressure of your hands on the mat. So your hands might still be touching, but you're not pressing down as much. Just breathe. And then release. Take your right cheek down to the mat. Let your heels drop out to the sides. You can bring your arms alongside your body. And then come back, bring your chin back to center. Point your heels straight up by flying through your toes. We're going to take a Sphinx pose. So bring your arms back alongside you. Start to press up onto your forearms, elbows beneath your shoulders. Fingertips are spread wide. So to protect your low back, pull your low belly in, tense up your bum just a little bit. Again, lift up on your kneecaps. It doesn't mean that they'll actually move away from the mat. They might, but it's more like you're pulling your knees up towards your thighs. Shrug your heart forward and shoulder blades back. Again, press through your palms, spreading your fingertips wide. Press down through your feet. Just breathe. If this is feeling okay on your low back and through your thoracic spine, you might choose to start to straighten your elbows, continue to reach your tailbone down, pivoting your pelvis upward. And if you're like, nope, too much, stay down. We don't want to move too much into our lower back. So we want to take this arc more into your upper back, your thoracic spine. Continue to have really strong legs here. You might even begin to shake at some point. And if you've taken that arm extension, start to rebend through your elbows, coming back up, down. Let your heels drop out to the side. Take your left cheek down to the mat, let your elbows flare out, and then take your arms alongside your body. Rest on the left side of your cheek. Come back to take your chin towards the center of your mat. Prop yourself up onto your elbows once again. We're going to take a bow pose, a dhanurasana pose. This is a belly down back bend. If you're like, no, this doesn't work for me for whatever reason, you could flip onto your back and take a bridge flow or a bridge pose, or even a supported bridge of some kind. However, if you're working with me, we're going to engage some of those similar muscles. Bending through your knees, your heels come up. You're going to reach your arms back, thumb down, palm in toward each other. And then you're going to grasp for your ankles or your feet. Bring your knees in a little bit closer toward each other. Shrug your shoulders up and back. And then press your feet into your hands or your ankles if you've got back grip instead. And if you've got ankle grip, flex through your feet. One of the things that tends to happen here is our knees like to go wide so that we can bring our legs in closer. See if you can not give into that so much. Start to bring your knees a little bit closer toward each other. Press feet to hands, hand to feet. A little rocking it back and forth is fine. Let your forehead drop. Unfortunately, it doesn't make us lift up any higher. Simply breathe. And then as you're ready, slowly, slowly drop your thighs down. Take one cheek to the mat, let your heels drop to the side and rest. Second time, because we all deserve a second chance. Part of this compassion, bring your chin back to center, bend your knees, find the clasp that you'd like to your ankles or your feet. And if you're like not quite there, reaching back towards your feet as you begin to lift your thighs away from the mat. Again, just lifting up might not mean that you don't have a connection, but you're still making that intention. If you do make that connection, then you might find your entire thigh, or at least the bottom part of your thigh, is beginning to lift up and away. Just breathe. Notice that every inhale and every exhale affects this pose. And then when you're ready, slowly rewind the path that you came. Take your opposite cheek down to the mat and rest. Bring your hands back in close to you. Tuck your toes. Again, lift up on your kneecaps. Doesn't mean that your kneecaps will lift away from the mat, but perhaps they do. Make your way back to downward facing dog. And give yourself a pretty deep bend in your knees in this downward facing dog. Really reaching out through your inner arms. Finding strong Tadasana through your spine. And then start to release your heels more toward the mat. Inhale, right leg lifts up and back. On an exhale, take your knee to your right wrist. We're going to move to a pigeon pose. Pivot your ankle across your body. Drop your left knee. Walk it back, flare through your toes. Take a peek back. And then similar arm shape as we've been taking before. Reach your arms back, palms facing each other, thumbs down, send your gaze upward. And then on an exhale, come forward. And again, if this is a posture that isn't working for your body right now or generally, coming to your back for a figure 4 is a great alternative. In your pigeon pose, maintain activity in your legs here. not allowing your lower part of your body to fall into Shavasana. As you're ready, start to press your way up. Bump your hips over to the right so that you can bring your left leg around towards the front of the room. We're going to take a Janu Sirsasana pose. Your right foot into your left thigh. Adjust the flesh of your thighs and your bum so you can feel grounded. When you're ready on an inhale, lift up, pivot your torso over your left thigh, and then reach your arms out as long as you can. On an inhale, lift up, break your posture. Tilt your right shoulder down so it's in the same plane as your left. Now on an exhale, begin to deepen, reaching your chin for your shin. Pressing your right knee down and back. This also might help you tilt forward just a bit. Inhale, lift up halfway, look beyond your toes. Exhale, break the pose, come seated to upright. Right hand behind you, fingertips facing away. Stargazer pose, with your left arm around, come up onto right shin, left foot comes down. Maybe even look beyond your left fingertips. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, spiral back. Roll over your hands and knees. Make your way to a downward facing dog. If you'd like to take a vinyasa between sides, you are welcome to do so. And then we'll take pigeon pose on the opposite side, left leg up and back. Exhale to take your knee to your left wrist. Same, but different. You might have a completely different experience in this posture than you did on the first side. So be sure to go through all of your checkpoints that you normally would. Left knee, so slightly outside of your left hip. And then again, if you'd like to explore more heart opening here and similar repetition of some of the other poses that we've been taking, reach your arms back, palms down. Thumbs down, palms facing toward each other, chest up, gaze is up. And then on your exhale, start to recline into your pigeon pose, reaching out longer. And again, not quite allowing the bottom of your part of your body to go into Shavasana. As you're ready, take a little bit more time. If you need, start to press your way up. And as on the side before, pump your hips over to the left. Give yourself plenty of space. Lean back, bring your right leg out in front of you. Feel free to use your arms to assist you in that massive rotation. Settle yourself up so you can feel pretty secure. Flex your right toes towards your face. Inhale, lift up. Pivot toward the extended leg and then reach as far as you can. Give yourself one more extension, breath in, and then exhale. Bringing your chin closer to your shin, left knee presses down and back. Inhale to lift up halfway, up beyond your toes. And then on your exhale, break the posture, left hand behind you, fingertips away, stargazer pose. Take your right arm around, come up onto left shin and right toes. Really press the mat away from you with everything that's touching it. And then on your next exhale, spiral all the way back around. Rock over your hands and knees, or your ankles rather, 2 hands and knees. Make your way to downward facing dog. Feel free to take one final vinyasa offered. And then as you're ready, drop to your knees, come all the way onto your belly, and then just flip onto your back. Pull your knees in towards your chest and reach your hands to the outsides of your feet for a happy baby pose. Maybe outside the feet isn't happening, so hands to thighs or calves or ankles. Perhaps a little rocking from left to right. And maybe even play with extending one leg, then the other, perhaps both at the same time. We'll take a supine twist. Right knee in toward your chest, left leg extends out. Draw your knee across your body and adjust your shoulders as you need. Send your gaze out over to the right. Allow your eye gaze to soften or even close your eyes. On an exhale, take your head and knee back to center. Extend your right leg up. Left knee pulls in and twist in the opposite way. And then on an exhale, head and knee back to center. Pull your knees in close to you for one final embrace, one final squeeze. Take your hands to your shins, maybe even bring your forehead up towards your knees. Exhale, totally release. The next posture is the last of this class, which is Shavasana. If there are any other postures that you need to take, movements or adjustments to your environment, now is a good time to explore those. If you needed an additional inversion other than happy baby, perhaps, or even a deeper twist. And once you're ready to enter Shavasana, start the process of letting go, releasing tension. Starting from the outermost parts of your body, letting that soften, moving inward. Further inward still, softening and releasing as you go, eventually making your way to the center of your chest. Heart bright, open, and strong. Slowly draw in a deeper breath. Feeling your awareness now grow outward to the boundaries of your body and inviting some movement, drifting your thoughts back to your dedication, offering yourself some compassion, embodying your body with compassion, and maybe taking a deep stretch like we did toward the beginning of this class. And when you're ready, roll over onto one side. Offer yourself a few moments of reflection here, and with your eyes closed, come to a seated posture for a brief meditation. On your next breath in, reach your arms out and let palms press above you. And on your exhale, take your thumbs to the space between your eyebrows for clarity of thought, to your lips for clarity of speech, and then to your heart for clarity of action. Bow to yourself, bow to your heart in honor, in respect, and in humility. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me, for sharing your compassion, for helping me to deepen my own personal practice, for helping me to take my practice off of my mat. And I welcome you into your practice off your mat as well. Namaste.